What do all of these have to do with the PlayStation 5? Well, none of them work, for starters. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. You guys have seen me on this channel a lot of times talking about how great all of these items are. We've talked about how to hook them up. We've talked about here's how to make them work on your PlayStation 5, how to set up the basic settings of it. We've done walkthroughs of a lot of these devices, and as of the most recent PlayStation update, all of these don't work anymore. But something changed, and it's probably not what you think. So let's take a quick walk down memory lane and talk about kind of the order that a lot of these came to be, and then we'll explain why now Sony has decided to actually block these. Now, on the surface, everyone's gonna say, well, because all of those are cheating devices, and Sony finally has cracked down on cheaters. And on the surface, you might be right, but I have an even deeper suspicion than that. You're gonna wanna stay to the end of the video to find out what that is. Before we get too far into this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. If you've seen some of our content already and have not subscribed, we want you to join our community. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get back to the video. Now, many of you that know the history of these devices, you're going to go to the Cronus Zen and or the RNO and say, well, obviously that's where our history lesson begins. But no, I'm not going to start there, and I'll explain why once we get to them actually. We're going to start with these two devices right here. Now, this one is my personal one. This is the B Savior controller. This is a modded PlayStation 5 controller with a backpack on it. I've got clicky triggers. I've got adjustable thumbsticks. This is the ultimate first-person shooter controller, but it has a secret. And what it's got is this little USB-C port on here. And what that USB-C port did was allow you to use this controller as the license to enable other devices. So for the longest time, we used the B Savior backpack to let us use the Cronus Zen directly on the PlayStation 5. Now, all of you Zen users are going, Anton, we've been using the Zen forever, shut up. I know, but you guys were using either PlayStation 4 games and or you were using remote play on this. The first time that you were able to actually use this without remote play on your PlayStation 5 with PlayStation 5 games was using the B Savior backpack, or you were using a Hori controller as the license key, which did allow you to bypass the PlayStation 5 check for a small period of time, but that didn't last long. They patched it out, and then you were on to remote play until the B Savior came along. Okay, so bear with me. This helps sell the story, okay? So this guy came out first, and we went over this to death on this channel. Now, the one thing when I say none of these work with the PlayStation 5, that's a bit of a lie. The back paddles themselves on here do still work with your PlayStation 5. If you have one of these and you want to use it just as back paddles, this still functions. And I am currently still using this today because I didn't need it for any cheats or any macros or anything like that. I just use it for these back paddles. I love the orientation of the back paddles with the B Savior backpack. Then after the B Savior backpack came out, the Cronus guys were made aware of how the B Savior team was actually hijacking the PlayStation 5 license key to mimic a PlayStation 5 controller and bypass the security check on the PlayStation. That is when we got an update to the Cronus Zen, which allowed you to plug your Cronus Zen directly into your PlayStation 5 using a PlayStation 5 controller on the side port here to give you the license key needed to create that man-in-the-middle attack, which allowed you to alter the inputs from the controller through here using scripts and macros and that sort of thing, and ultimately use it on your PlayStation 5. That came soon after the B Savior backpack, but not first. Now, all along, this RNO device has existed, and this allows you, its primary function is to enable keyboard and mouse on your PlayStation 5, but also your PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox, and all of your Xbox variants, and it supports all of them quite nicely. The challenge was the PlayStation 5. using this on PlayStation 5 games. So they came out with this, which is the RNO D1. Now the RNO D1 came out roughly the same time as the B-Savior U5. That's because they both do the same thing. Essentially, they plug into the PlayStation 5, you plug in a PlayStation 5 controller to this, which allows you to plug anything you want into this side and use it as if it was a PlayStation 5 controller. In the case of the D1, it allowed us to plug the RNO S1 in and gave us full keyboard and mouse support on your PlayStation 5 for PlayStation 5 games. They worked together to do that. In the case of the U5, it allowed you to use any of these with your PlayStation 5 without using remote play. And you would think that the plethora of cheat devices and the huge amount of keyboard and mouse adapters that allowed you to bypass the keyboard mouse checks on the PlayStation 5 would be enough to make Sony crack down and say, no, not on my device. But you see, it wasn't. These were just rampant. They were going crazy. They were everywhere. Everyone was getting in on the action to have some sort of device that bypassed this security feature. But what caused Sony to finally patch this? Folks over at Collective Minds, the ones who make the Cronus Zen, released the Strike Pack Horizon Vista for the PlayStation 5. Now, I've ordered one and unfortunately it's not here yet, so I can't show you. So we're gonna settle for some B-roll of the Strike Pack Horizon Vista, which you are now looking at. Now, as you can see, what it does is it plugs into the front USB-C port on your PlayStation 5 controller. It straddles the back and it gives you back buttons on your PlayStation 5 controller. I'm telling you, is the reason why this is suddenly blocked. The Strike Pack Horizon Vista uses the exact same method that the B-Savior guys were using a long time ago to hijack the PlayStation 5 controller and insert their own back buttons and their own macros and all of their own features. The main difference here is, rather than having to open up the controller, solder on some wires, and like it actually is a soldered on install because it has to hijack the USB protocol to mimic the controller. And here's why that matters to Sony. You see, Sony is looking at how they can implement clip-on back pedals to their PlayStation 5 controller. They're looking at ways to easily make it possible for the average everyday user to get those back pedals on their controller. Up until now, the only way to do it was to open the controller up and install everything, which was just too hard for a lot of people. So they were going and spending money for actual PlayStation 5 controllers that were modified to actually allow those back pedals to be installed at a significantly higher price. And Sony released their DualSense Edge controller in competition for that. And because it's slightly cheaper or around the same price as those hacked up modded controllers, Sony's been able to enjoy a large piece of the back paddle pie. But now with this new device, someone just needs to go and get a brand new PlayStation 5 controller, buy this add-on pack for $60, plug it in, and instantly you've got back paddles, you've got macros, you've also got the ability to cheat in games if that's what you're into, and it's so easy. So it's no surprise that Sony has gone and blocked it now. And that's why now it's being blocked, because they're about to come out with their own back paddle solution and they don't want the competition. This is anti-consumerism at the core. They don't care about cheaters. They didn't care when the Zen worked. They didn't care when the RNO worked. They didn't care when any of these Aimzenix products worked. They only cared when they had a product that was about to come to market that would compete directly against a gray market product. And why wouldn't they want to shut off that capability? The good news here is that all is not lost. You see, the RNO still works on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox, and all that. It just doesn't work on PlayStation 5 games. These guys, the Aimzenix, if you're looking for a keyboard and mouse adapter, this guy, the Monster, actually has an Ethernet port in the back, which allows you to connect this using remote play. Remote play is still wide open and unblocked. So those of you who were cheating before using keyboard and mouse in games that you had no business using keyboard and mouse on, you can keep doing that with devices like the Aimzenix. Now, if you've got a Zim Matrix, well, maybe you can't use that right now unless you're using remote play. Same with the Cronus guys. Cronus Zen still supports remote play, and you're just back to where we were a year ago. So on the surface, the guys who thought that this was a ploy to block cheat devices are about to be let down now that they've heard this and that, you believe what I'm saying is true. And really just the guys like me who have purchased that strike pack looking for an easy way to get back pedals on their controller, they're the ones that are hurt the most, because currently there is no workaround for the strike pack to work. Now, if you were lucky enough to have automatic updates turned off on your PlayStation 5, all of these still work. This update is not a mandatory update for your PlayStation 5. So you can still use it as long as you have not updated. Now at some point, there will be a mandatory update and it will include that block. So this is going to be a short-lived solution, but I know the guys over at Kronos Zen are working on a solution. I've reached out to the Be Savior team and asked them, hey, are you guys working on a solution and what are you thinking? I'm waiting to hear back from them. It's too bad they hadn't responded to me by the time I was ready to make this video, because I'd love to share that with you guys. But the good news is the Be Savior guys, I think they like me. I do a pretty good job of explaining their stuff. So if there is an update, I will probably hear about it first and I'll share that information with you guys. For now, this part of the community is on hold, waiting for that solution to come, and it might never come. Depending on how Sony patched this, we may never have this box open back up. I'm hopeful that it does, because I like to see how the tech works and everything, and this has been a way to unlock that so that I can play with it. But if it doesn't, it's no big deal to me. Those of you who are anti-cheat, it's okay. It's okay. These devices are largely unavailable to most people now. And the great news is you can jump into those Call of Duty lobbies and play hack-free for a little bit. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video, and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.